Welcome to Rebecca Sounds Reveille. I have a special guest today for you, all the way from the West Coast. This guy is so special to my heart because he is some special member of my family that I absolutely adore. And he is also an improv stand-up comedian from Los Angeles. He's trained, performed regularly at the Second City, UCB, LA. I've got to tell you, this man is near and dear to my heart. He's also currently an actor of TMI Hollywood. He has a love for the arts, and he started practically at birth doing this kind of stuff, this comedy. He's made me laugh since the time I've known him. Well, 7 years old. And it's led him to study jazz, piano, guitar, self-study, by the way. And he sings too, an incredible singer. And when he isn't performing, he can usually be found, well, binge eating things like Doritos and writing music. Welcome to the show, my brother, Jess Ellis.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. This is amazing.
I'm
And
so
I want to set the
excited.
record straight.
Do
So
tell.
probably my comedy training, huh?
Do tell.
Yeah. I think my comedy training probably started like from birth. So I pretty much owe my sense of humor to you. So
Oh, well, when you came out, were you just like, ah, and started laughing?
no, but I remember you dressing me up in all sorts of outfits and us doing like writing little sketches and being silly and performing for
Okay, I
mom.
forgot about that.
So
I
yeah,
forgot.
there was a lot of that.
There was a
Trust
lot of
me.
skits.
Yeah, and I'd like to forget. That was a lot of, you put a lot of makeup on me back then.
There was a lot of skits. I forgot about that
Yeah.
because, not too long ago, I had a critic that requested an interview, and they asked for my, kind of background in acting and stuff like that. And I forgot to add, my little skits from my childhood days. And,
Well,
kind of counts, I guess, because if you're doing it all the time, when did it start for you? And I started thinking about some of the stuff that I did in background work from Hollywood, but I kind of forgot about the things that I did as a kid, like dressing you up.
yeah, I mean, God, it was like our mission to make milk come out of our mother's nose. Like, we were doing improv comedy before it was popular, like just riffing off each other at the dinner table and, destroying everybody. So,
We did too. We had a lot of fun.
mhm,
There,
yeah,
actually, I don't know if there was many like quiet moments in our household, really.
no. And the improv was in public too. I don't know if you remember, for your audience. I'm going to be gentle on this one. I'm not going to go into details,
All
but
right.
Rebecca liked to embarrass our mother in public with characters. So
Okay,
we
which
both have
character?
an extensive background in character comedy.
Which
Oh
character?
no, I'm going to leave it.
Oh man. Oh man. This is awesome. We got to have mom on the show.
Oh gosh, that poor woman. I feel like, and it's funny because our mother, like, even though we're genetically related, the humor I don't think came from mom's side because she's a very sweet and genuine and innocent little thing. And
She
to
is.
have two raucous children like us must have been either just torture or maybe it was just free entertainment for her because she
No,
seemed to enjoy it.
I know it. I know it. It is so absolutely funny. She is a gentle spirit compared to
Hmm.
the raw side of us.
Yeah, well, I feel like, especially, I don't know, like, I haven't watched a lot of your shows, but I know that when we're together, like physically together, there's almost nothing that you and I won't do for laughs. So
Okay, this is true. We have been
Yeah.
known to pull some pretty good stunts. We have been we've been known to pull some pretty good stunts. I mean,
Hmm.
come to our dinner table anytime the two of us are together, and be prepared to swallow your food pretty fast because otherwise it's coming out.
Yeah, or you'll choke on it, which
Yeah, or you'll choke on it. That's pretty true. So you are now an actor in Hollywood, and you've been acting with TMI for a while. And some people might really not understand what TMI Hollywood is all about. So why don't you share with us a little bit about TMI Hollywood?
TMI Hollywood is basically the Saturday Night Live of the West Coast. It's a sketch comedy show that until the COVID crisis premiered once a week on Sunday nights. 100% live, written a whole new show written at the start of every week on Monday, and then the cast would come together on Wednesday to sort of do a table read of all the proposed scripts that were written from Monday to Wednesday, and then the producers and the directors and some of the cast would decide which ones would go into the show. On Saturday, we would be at the space rehearsing, and then Sunday night it would be lights up in front of a live audience, and then in front of the entire internet. The show was streamed on Facebook Live recently. We used to do YouTube, but I guess the numbers weren't too good. So it's a very fun show, and it's original every week. And TMI is basically a spoof off of TMZ. So it's all current events, some politics, but it's new every week. We have a celebrity guest every week. Well, usually. Um, lots of fun. So if you're a fan of sketch comedy or something like SNL, in fact, we have had SNL cast members on our show. It's a great time.
It is a great time, and you perform at the Hudson Theater.
That's correct. Hudson is where it's LA's Comedy Central stage. So Comedy Central also does stuff there. We share a stage with them. We're not affiliated with Comedy Central, but we share the same space. So it's kind of a prestigious place in LA to have a
Yes.
show. And it's the best place to film because it's set up much like a television studio. So like I said, we have a full live audience, just like a TV studio. And there's only one take. There's no cut and do-overs. So
That's
you
it.
never know what you're going to get.
Do over.
Nope.
Johnny do-over.
Sorry. Yeah, it can get real interesting if somebody doesn't prepare, or sometimes it happens to the best of them. You just go blank. And for a long time, it was sort of a bragging rights to be on our cast because we did it without any kind of safety net. There was no director there ready to give you a line if you dropped the line, and there was no teleprompter until just very recently. We had the last season we experimented with the teleprompter, so you never knew it was gonna happen.
Well, let me ask you about that, because never before on the show has anybody talked about using a teleprompter and how, easy or difficult it can be. Can you share with the audience a little bit about using a teleprompter? Because, I mean, that takes some skill to think about the placement of the teleprompter. Some places, you'll see this when you're looking at some type of, sometimes it's an award ceremony, and sometimes it's another event, and sometimes you'll see that at the bottom of the stage there'll be a teleprompter and you have to look down, and sometimes it might be somewhere over here, and it takes skill for an actor to, or an MC, to look at that and yet maintain on eye contact with the audience. But yet it takes a different type of skill for an actor to be able to look at the teleprompter and then look somewhere else if they're in the middle of a scene. So can you tell me a little bit about your experience with that and how easy or difficult it is to do?
Oh my God, people might think it's easy, like just get up there, and just read from a thing like a script, but it's hard. Until TMI, I never really worked with a teleprompter before. It was all improv comedy or scripted like stand-up, which I know because I wrote the stuff. So there was really no script in any comedy I was doing before. So, and then before the pre-teleprompter, you would memorize your lines and you would rehearse with another actor, and you kind of improv a little bit because, the written word is much different than the spoken word. And if you were just to read the jokes on the page, it would come across very stiff. So a lot of times people are tweaking it to fit the character that they're doing, or to fit the character that somebody else is doing, or to set them up for a really good joke. And if you're just reading verbatim off the script, it might not happen. And getting used to using the teleprompter just as a placeholder for all the stuff that happened in rehearsals is very difficult. And when we first transitioned to that, a lot of people had problems, and a lot of people didn't even use it for many shows until they could really get that
Okay.
that muscle memory of just using it as a placeholder. It's very difficult. And anybody that we have a couple of people on our cast, and you know what, I'll say his name just because he'll
Are you
get
gonna do it?
Yeah. So Cameron is probably our best cold reader, and that guy, you could just put a script on the prompter and he can go. He's very talented at it. But it's very hard to just cold read from a script on a teleprompter. So anybody that can, that's a real talent.
That's really interesting. And does the teleprompter scroll things from the bottom, or does it have like the whole screen like you're looking at a laptop, say?
So actual teleprompter machines are pretty expensive, and we decided to DIY it. Okay. So they have like a large screen TV under the central camera, and that's another hard thing. If you're supposed to be on camera 2, but the teleprompter is on camera 1, it looks real awkward when you're like delivering to camera 1 and camera 2's on you. You know somebody's reading. But we decided to DIY it. So it's basically a tablet and somebody's scrolling the script for you. And in the beginning, we just sort of let anybody that wanted to do it.
Okay.
And some of the actors got lost. Yeah. Oh, one of the actors got lost. It might have even been me. And then you could see the person on the teleprompter thought that they were lost. So they started scrolling really fast through the script, and then the entire cast got lost. It was amazing. So there was a period of about 5 seconds where nobody kind of knew what to do, but then some of the seasoned members just jumped in and improv the way out of it and got back on track. But it could be scary.
That would be a lot of fun, though. I mean, even, I guess, the thrill of that fear, and you're up there and you got to figure it out.
That's what it is.
And then when you get through it, you're like, oh yeah, I rocked it.
There's definitely
yeah,
there's a sense of accomplishment and pride of just being like, oh my God, I survived that.
Because I can see that.
It is a thrill. That's the only reason to do it.
I can see that. I can totally see that. So when you are in that kind of environment, do you have an opportunity then to meet other directors and producers and have I guess that opportunity then to get other acting type of gigs out of this?
Well, it's very competitive out here right now.
Okay.
Nobody's getting work because
there you go
of the whole COVID thing. But there hasn't been a lot of opportunity to get work out of just doing TMI. You still have to go through the audition process, and you submit and go through the audition process just like everybody else. And working with, celebrities that do host our show and talking to them just on a personal level, it's the same for them. So it's dog eat dog, and you just gotta go out and audition and hope for the best. But I think the more that you do on your own, you can build your own portfolio, and having that portfolio is usually what gets you the leg up,
Okay, so I really want to take a moment to point that out to the audience, because I think it's really important that we think about how we do things, and we don't make the assumption that other people or things can always be readily available to us. We think about how good that we are at what we do, and we continue to look for things out there and always inventing ways and connections through other methods that we do, and we don't just put all our eggs in one basket. There's opportunities in so many things, in different areas that maybe we didn't think about. And oftentimes we think, okay, well, if I just do this, it's going to be there, or an opportunity will arise someday, and then and it could be in any subject or on any level, including relationships. We think, okay, well, if I just, you know, go on this one dating site, eventually something will pop up. And so I'll never go to the grocery store because you know, we have to be putting ourselves in a lot of different positions to get opportunities to do different things, whether it's education or, you know, whatever it is, like you just said. And I just really wanted to point that out there. We have to do that. And we can't always just think that there's an expectation of certain things because we're doing one thing. And we sometimes have to go through things just like everybody else does, but we've got to think about our things like you just said. And I think that was great timing in the way that
Yeah,
you said it.
that's a great point. You make your own opportunity, especially if you have a background. I don't know if your audience is familiar with your background, but we didn't come from privilege. So,
No, we didn't. We
every,
did not.
not even close. So, uh, you have to make your own opportunity with what you have and make the best of it. I hate that old saying, when life gives you lemons, but that's the truth. And whether you're acting or, like you said, a relationship, sometimes just like for a guy, I tell my guy friends, like, when was the last time you went out and bought flowers for your lady just because? Everything is about making that opportunity for yourself. So you get what you put out of it, and you can't wait for someone else to, you can't, like for actors, you can't sit at the Rexall drugstore counter and wait to be discovered. You got to go out, make your own content, make your own opportunity.
Yeah, and I like what you said. Make your own content, because you can make your own content. Anything that you're doing, whatever it is, make your own content. If you're a chef, make your own new recipe. Create something different. Put yourself out there. Do
Yes.
something different.
Start a cooking show.
And speaking of shows, and I was just going to say content and new things and getting yourself out there, you are doing something brand new, and I'd like my audience to connect with you on this. And so let's talk a little bit, because you are a very talented person. You have taught yourself to play instruments. Many people can't do that. And before I get to this new show, I want to talk for a minute about being self-taught at instruments and singing and all of these things. You have done that. What was the first instrument that you taught yourself to play?
Well, to be fair, I have had brief moments of instruction, but mainly to just get off the ground. I think I did like 2 weeks of guitar lessons when I first got a guitar. But the first instrument, actually, now that I think about it, the first instrument that I learned to play was the flute, and I was taught in public school, which I think is an impossibility now, since they don't have music programs in public school, which is a shame. But that was pretty much the gateway drug. I picked up the flute because I'll never forget this girl, Amy, in our class. She was like the smartest one and the prettiest one. And when they passed around the sheet that said, like, which instrument do you want to play? I was like, peeked over and I saw Amy check flute. So I was like, that's where I'm going. But unbeknownst to me, like, I caught the bug, man. I fell in love with music rather than Amy, and like the rest was history. So after 8th grade, I think I got a guitar like my freshman year in high school, and I just couldn't put it down.
That's really neat, because you have recently done a little bit of a really what's the best word that, I mean, you have done a video recently about COVID, and you've played the guitar in that video, and you've wrote the lyrics to that song. You've got a smile on your face.
Yeah. My brand of comedy is mainly politically incorrect, and usually, if not PG-13, it's definitely R-rated, but nothing untoward. But I don't know. I was just sitting in my kitchen one day thinking about this stupid virus that we're all going through, and the stuff that I was going through. And it just, the whole song sort of came out, and I threw it up there on Twitter and Facebook. So one of my favorite things is I like writing parody songs. So that was my most recent.
I love it. But you play piano too.
Yes. Yeah. And that one, I actually did have a little bit of instruction. So I did originally teach myself to play piano, but I wanted to take it to the next level. And kind of
Okay.
like the problem with a lot of self-taught musicians is there's a lot of music theory and technique that you don't get on your own. Like you may learn how to write a song or learn how to functionally play the instrument, but if you get professional instruction, you can really take it to the next level. And that's what I did after plunking around on the piano and, already knowing how to read music and translating it to piano. I really wanted to take it to the next level. So I studied advanced jazz piano, which brought in all of the music theory on top of that, which, like if you're a music nerd, like Circle of Fifths just kind of blows your mind, and learning that theory is pretty amazing. And that's really difficult to get on your own.
Okay, so if you know how to read music for the flute, can you
Mm-hmm.
transfer that over to the piano?
Yeah.
You can't as easily?
Well, flute and piano, I personally easily can, and guitar is a little bit harder for me to that fast, but you can usually transpose it to the other instrument. But luckily everything I play is in the same clef. It's the treble clef, so it all reads the same.
Okay.
There's the
Okay.
bass clef, which I do also read. That's my left hand on the piano.
Okay, that's where I'm
Um,
going next.
but
Yes.
yeah,
How
but the
difficult is
with
it to
the
use?
advanced jazz study, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how difficult is it to use two different, you've got one hand doing one thing and then to know how to use the other hand?
Um, it's just you get used to it. Like ask a drummer. I mean, they're using both hands and both feet at the same time. That's really difficult. Like I
Okay.
still struggle with that playing drums. Like my left foot's kind of a dead foot. But um, with with the piano, it was easy because I was getting into fingerstyle guitar, which uses each finger to do things independently. And then
Okay.
so on the piano it was almost the same thing, so it wasn't a big transition. But like anything else, it's just the more you do it, the better you can get at it. Like if you think about driving a car, you're doing all sorts of stuff with all your hands and your feet, and you don't
Yeah,
even think about it. But
I guess
when you first do it, it's kind of difficult to get everything to
the
syncopate.
part I'm thinking of is syncing the notes that you're reading to get this hand to do this, and the different notes that you're reading at the exact same time to get this hand to do this. And I'm thinking,
Right.
how can you, like, how does the brain do that? And I'm just, that was my thought on that.
You go very slow. I don't know anybody
Go
personally, like even
slow.
I don't know anybody personally that could just look at complex music and just play it for the first time. Usually you've got to kind of go over it and see where it's going or apply the
Okay.
theory to it to get it to happen. Because
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot going on there,
Yeah, there.
to read both lines of music, both clefs of the music, and then have both hands do it. Usually takes some practice.
Okay, so this is pretty amazing. Let's go to what we're going to talk about and introduce now to the audience, who I think is going to be really excited about content, and the content creation that you have going on incorporates both sketch and, like when we were kids, we called it skits, but sketch and some political commentary. So let's talk a little bit about what you have going on now with the show that you have just created and launched.
Yeah, I just started a podcast called The Skew, which I've been trying to start since about 2015. And I was originally going to have a co-host, but nobody was brave enough to do it with me. So the premise of the show is that it's just political commentary from the perspective of a comedian who's also a libertarian. I don't know if your audience might connect with that, but libertarians, I think, there's a lot of misconception with us. And then if you're center left, we definitely get a bad rap from from those guys, even though we see eye to eye on a lot of issues. But the show has been going really well. I decided to try to incorporate as much sketch comedy and humor into it while also packing in a lot of libertarian theory as it pertains to current events. So it's probably not for you if you don't necessarily like politics, but I feel from my perspective, being based mainly in like logic and reason. A lot of people call that a centrist. I think there's a lot that you can glean from listening about the current issues of the day from somebody who's not a partisan, who's not straight, Democrat or straight Republican.
I think the good thing too to think about is that if you want to get a perspective that can address two sides of an issue or give you a completely different perspective than what's been kind of shout out at you from both parties, a lot that has been going on. This gives you an absolutely different perspective. I mean, completely different. I mean, a lot of things that have been coming out have just been kind of the same over and over again. And you're kind of thinking, well, I need to have some fresh thought here. And here's what I'm thinking. Are there any other thoughts that can kind of widen some subject matter here? I mean, because this is not the only thing that there is on this. There's got to be more to this subject in this. I mean, it's kind of there's brain matter here, and we only use, let's say, 10% of our brain, and on this subject, there's got to be 90% more to this topic. Come on. And from sometimes where you sit, even if I have a thought on this and you've given me this thought and you've given me this thought, there still is a whole lot of other thoughts out here, but what you might tell me can then give me a whole lot of other things that might explode in my mind. And sometimes we just need that. And that's why they have a word called collaboration, right? If we start brainstorming together, we even have more ideas and more things. And you're doing just that. You're allowing us to have some other perspective and some insight on some things that aren't being brought to the surface. And I think this is a good opportunity for that, this skew. And I like that. I really like that. You're brilliant at coming up with a lot, and you do have a lot of good ideas and good titles for different things that you do. Songs, a lot of songs.
Yeah, it's that improv background. I just I don't know. I come up with a lot of stuff. As a side business, I also register a lot of domain names that I think are really cool that might be used later. So
that was what was on my mind when I was saying that. Actually.
Yeah.
I think you knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for plugging that. I totally forgot to tell your audience. The name of the show is The Skew, and you can find it wherever popular podcasts are sold, as well as YouTube. And you can check us out on Twitter as well.
Yeah, and you are big into Twitter. I mean, you've got a lot of things going there. You are big. Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about Twitter, because we have there's kind of some views that Twitter is really the place to go to get a lot of information. And then you have a lot of people that go, I'm not really big into Twitter. I just don't know. And I don't know if it's because some people feel that it's kind of uncomfortable to use as a platform. But tell me a little bit about Twitter and how beneficial it can be for the people that are not using it.
Well, to tie in what you were just talking about getting alternate perspectives, one of the things I like to do is to find views, opinions, and perspectives on issues that make me uncomfortable, because then I know that I'm getting out of that echo chamber and that comfort zone. So a lot of people seek out an echo chamber so that they can feel safe and secure. A lot of people, their echo chamber will be somewhere like MSNBC or CNN, or other people it'll be Fox News. And I purposely watch the ones that, for lack of a better term, piss me off, because I know that it will challenge how I think. And I'm not afraid of having my beliefs challenged. And for me, Twitter is one of those places that really allows that to happen, because, everybody's got an opinion and everybody wants to share it. And Twitter is one of those public, well, for lack of a better term, public places of discourse where everybody can get out there. It's a very equal playing field, and there's no barrier for entry. And that's one of the beautiful things about the internet, is now that everybody's got a voice. And Twitter is one of those places where everybody's voicing their opinions and also sharing lots of great comedy. I mean, there's lots of great political humor, slapstick humor. Yeah.
There
So
is.
anything you are looking for, you can find. And more importantly, perspectives that you don't normally run into, you can find there too.
And what's good about that too is you don't have to respond, and people don't get offended there. They're not going to
Right.
like unfriend you because
Correct.
you didn't. I mean, you just scroll through the feed, and if you like what they have to say, you can like it or share it or heart it or whatever. But you can just scroll through the feed, and nobody has it one way or the other. You're still in the kind of social circle. Plus, Twitter has made it so that you can subscribe to these connect with people based on topics, and then you can gain insight on all these different topics and get feeds going that you want to follow. And the thing is, then you become educated on all these other topics in addition to that, whereas other social media is not really like that. So it's a whole different thing there, and you gain a lot of contacts that way. This is pretty cool. So do you have any stand up coming up in the near future, or any other types of are you gonna
No, unfortunately, because of the whole COVID thing, we don't even know if TMI is coming back. The stuff that I'm really focusing on is, doing stuff here at home. Obviously, this is a green screen. I don't live on the 110 freeway like so many people do here in Los Angeles. But
there are
I
so many
think,
people out that are supposed to have masks on. I can see them in the car.
yeah, look at those. Well, that's typical LA traffic. Wait, which that way? Nobody's moving. They're just all stuck there.
Yeah, and actually, are the streets like that now? I mean, is there
You know,
that
I,
much traffic still? You wouldn't know because you're home, right?
no, I went out for the first time, and I stayed at home for 7 weeks. And I went out because I had to see my girlfriend. I went out and traveled to her house. She's about 2-3 miles. Well, 3 miles as the crow flies away in West Hollywood. And you would be surprised how many people were out. It was like there was no pandemic. So that's food for thought. But as far as doing stand-up, improv, or any kind of theater anytime soon, I don't think anybody in Los Angeles is doing anything anytime soon. We don't even know if these theaters are going to recover because margins are so tight for theaters. The theater owners are probably going to pack up shop. Mayor Garcetti said here in Los Angeles, we're probably not going to open up till sometime in August, which is going to be a heavy burden for any mom and pop shops. The only people that are going to survive are going to be larger corporations. And over here, the best theaters, probably like in New York, are the independent theaters. That's where you go for the most creative content. And unfortunately, we're one of those. So for now, I'm going to focus on the Skew podcast. Guys, come listen to me, especially if you want your world rocked and see an alternative viewpoint that you wouldn't get from either side of the left or the right. And TMI, go ahead.
Your sketches at the beginning of the Skew are hilarious.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Top notch. I got it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But they'll make you think. It's not your typical comedy.
That's right. That's right.
And then we've been doing TMI. In lieu of being in the theater, we've been doing a TMI Daily, which you can check out at Facebook Live every day at 1 p.m. every weekday. And I'm on there getting yelled at as the only alternative viewpoint in a sea of blue. So if you want to see that, come check us out there. If you're bored in the middle of the day, there's a lot of entertaining stuff there.
I love it. Jess, I'm so glad that you were able to come on the show today because I love spending time with you any way I can. But this today is really special to me, and I am really blessed to have you with me.
Yeah, I'm honored that you asked me on, to be honest. And I love talking to you anyways, so it wasn't a real stretch.
So here, we're going to do it again real soon.
Oh, please. That'd be great. I'll have you on my show.
Okay, so we're going to do this, and we'll just, we got to keep people updated on what's going on. And actually, what I'm going to like to do is have one of your sketch guests on my show. Know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, for sure.
Willie's Steakhouse.
Yeah, Willie might come visit and tell you how it's been since reopening up in Oklahoma.
Right. Okay. So we can do some things. How about that?
Oh yeah, that'll be fun.
Okay, the audience, you guys are going to absolutely love it. And if you want to know what we're just talking about, you're going to have to head on over to the SKU. Make sure that you subscribe on YouTube to his channel. Make sure that you head on over and check out every one of the apps over on just about any podcast out there. You can find it anywhere there, but click that subscribe button on YouTube. Thanks, Jess, for being here.
Thanks.
And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to another episode of Rebecca Sounds Reveille. This show has been absolutely delightful. Make sure you listen to this show again, and you can get a lot out of it. Pay attention, because we had some really good tips in there for you. And share this with your friends, your family, everybody that you know on social media, and everybody that you don't. Thanks for tuning in. And click that subscribe button on Rebecca Sounds Reveille too.